The picturesque Dniester riverbanks within the so-called warm Podillia, a climatic region of western Ukraine with indicators close to the country's southern regions. This unique microclimate was formed due to the circulation of warm air in the valley of this river. Here, on the southern outskirts of the Dzvenyhorod village, Ternopil region, the Dniester Valley takes on the canyon character in places. Standing on a high hill above the river's bend, it is interesting to see how everything is arranged around. To the east, downstream, the left bank acquires a rocky character, but slightly decreases to the next bend. The right riverbank lies within the Chernivtsi region and gradually acquires mountainous features due to the slopes of the Khotyn Upland which steeply descend to the river, forming the appearance of a canyon. In the close-up, the half-ruined rocks of the left bank and the swampy lowland below them attract attention. This lowland, which lies in the narrow canyon-like valley of the left tributary of the Dniester, the Dzvinyachka River, determined the historical fate of this extraordinary place. If you look around, you will notice that this step hill is quite unusual. Its surface, which is inclined towards the river, is not flat but is dissected by small irregularities and seems to be surrounded by a moat and a rampart along the perimeter and has been smoothed out over time. The western slope of the hill is steep, as are the eastern and southern ones. To the west, outcrops of Silurian limestone hidden in the coastal forest extend from under the hill, forming inaccessible cliffs. The western panorama of the Dniester also extends into the age-old forests of the Dniester Canyon National Nature Park. There, just as to the east, the forested lowlands of the Khotyn Upland rise above the river from the south, and the northern left bank descends to the next bend where the Dniester village is located. So it becomes clear that this hill is very valuable in terms of navigation and fortification. It is no coincidence that one of the oldest Slavic settlements on the Dniester, the Dzvenyhorod city, was located on it. According to the hypotheses of historians Belinsky and Lipinski, Dzvenyhorod has been known since ancient Rus times as the capital of the specific Dzvenyhorod Principality and is mentioned in the chronicles under the year 1126. The territory of the ancient Rus settlement borders on the Podillia upland edge to the north, which is a place to the church has stood since 1801. Next to the church is a bell tower which marks the entrance to the territory of the protected ancient city. This city was the residence of the princes. The Dzvenyhorod Principality is mentioned in the works of historians Mikhailu Hrushevsky and Mykola Arkas. Another proof of this principality's existence is a Polish map drawn up before the 13th century where Dzvenyhorod is marked. The Nestorov Chronicle mentioned the city as the property of Prince Przemysl. After he died in 1126, power passed to his sons Volodymyr and Rostislav, who began an internecine war for the city. Finally, in 1242, Dzvenyhorod was destroyed by the Tatars and then disappeared from historians' view for a long time. Under the eastern edge of the Hillfort, down the valley of the Dzvinyachka River, a rocky road descends. The cliff under the settlement, stretching right, gradually acquires the view of picturesque and majestic limestone cliffs. At the very bottom, on the ancient Dniester terrace, these cliffs are exposed in an old quarry, and a valuable geological section of ancient seas rises before our eyes. Here, outcrops of the Ruction series upper part, Upper Silurian, are protected. In the lower part of the outcrop, black limestones of the Trubchinskia Formation come to the surface with brachiopods and conodonts fauna formed in the conditions of a shallow warm sea. Higher up the slope, a layer of light-colored limestones and marls of the Dzvenyhorodskia Formation lies with brachiopods, trilobites, rugose, and tabulates, indicating these rocks creating in the deeper open sea conditions. At the base of this layer, even the remains of coral reefs and layers of volcanic ash have been found. A little further to the west, the outcrops take on a more moderate view. Their height decreases, and the amount of vegetation on the slopes increases. Thus, after about 1 kilometer, these witnesses of ancient sea's existence mysteriously disappear in the dense forests of the Dniester floodplain. Just 100 meters from these rocks, the Dniester River, like millions of years ago, carries its clay-rich waters to the Black Sea. Here you can also see the structure of the lowest, youngest terrace of this river, which is composed of coarse-grained, gravelly clay deposits. But what is hidden in the dense thickets along the Dzvinyachka River, which was one of the most populated places of the ancient city? After descending the path from the rocks, first in the impassable thickets, the distant sound of a lively stream appears, and then the path goes out onto the road that fords this watercourse. The Dzvinyachka River has laid a rocky bed among the centuries-old floodplain forest and rustles in small rapids through the fragments of rocks that in ancient times fell from the surrounding cliffs. The water is a little muddy after recent rains, although it has a fresh smell and a fairly low temperature. Somewhere almost under the continuous cover of old tree branches, miniature lakes are formed, resembling improvised pools. This happens due to large stones or trunks of stout trees that have blocked the riverbed. In such places, it is especially nice to stop and observe nature. In some places along the trail, there are remnants of ancient stonework. But for the most part, incredibly thick grass, bushes, and trees have filled all visible space, and only a narrow path, which is regularly used by fishermen, cuts through this green hell. On a hot day, it is so humid here that there is nothing to breathe. Against this background, it is especially joyful when the Dniester finally begins to be seen. After heavy rains in early summer and the highest level, the river water has already begun to recede from the shore. The overwetted areas of the banks were immediately covered with very thick grass, in which a large number of water and forest birds hide. After the green jungle along the Dzvinyachka stream, the coastal wind and open space bring joy, but you can't approach the shore because of the muddy silt. From the shore, the river looks completely different compared to how it looked from the top of the hill, and it is easy to imagine how water trade caravans passed here in ancient times. In those days, the river was much fuller and less silted up, so sails could have been widespread, both on ancient rust boats and Scandinavian longships. You can also see the place where the Dzvinyachka River flows into the Dniester, which is also significantly overgrown with aquatic vegetation. The maps show the Dzvenyhorod waterfalls, which are extremely difficult to find in the green microcosm, even despite their intense noise. But standing at the confluence of the Dzvinyachka River into the Dniester, the melody of the falling water seems to become significantly closer. The final dash through the hostile elements of overgrown plants, and a corner of paradise became found. Under the canopy of ancient trees, the Dzvinyachka stream falls from a 2-meter ledge of limestone rocks in several noisy streams that seem to ring. This makes the name of both the stream itself and the ancient settlement well understood. Dzvin is a Ukrainian translation of the bell word. On a hot July noon, this place seems like the dream embodiment of a traveler scorched by the sun. because large masses of falling freshwater send waves of coolness far around, like a giant air conditioner. This amazing place was probably formed due to the rise in the level of the Dniester to the place of the waterfall during floods. Lateral river erosion superimposed on the channel erosion of the stream. There was a cutting of limestone layers at the bottom, which formed a sharp edge that is a waterfall base. This observation gives an understanding that as a result of minimal work on clearing the river sediments between the waterfall and the Dniester bank, the small lake under the waterfall turns into a small hidden harbor for riverboats. At the same time, given the great importance of the Dniester waterway between the countries of Northern Europe and the Black Sea Basin at that time, it is worth assuming that the small harbor could have been cleared to considerable sizes and played a great role in the life of the ancient principality and the city of Dzvenyhorod. Even in the 19th century, this area was completely different. In archival photos, you can see that there are no impassable thickets along the stream, but there are houses and outbuildings among the single trees. Livestock graze on beautiful meadows along the stream, while a water mill towered right above the waterfall. This area has experienced many historical events. In the 15th to 16th centuries, the castle of the Lithuanian princes Koryatoviks stood on a hill above the river. In 1716, the great crown hetman Adam Dzvinyachka restored it. A village arose around the castle, which developed rapidly during the Austro-Hungarian Empire and declined during the German and Soviet occupations. As a result, this area has come down to us in a state of almost devastated outskirts of the Ternopil region. Summarizing it, the dynamic flow of history resembles the brisk flow of this stream.